Gun to your head. You have to keep one, no matter what. From McKinstry, Short, and Ibanez. Who's your guy? Who's going to take a spot on your roster as your kind of multi-purpose Swiss knife kind of guy?
I would have to go McKinstry just because I think Matt Vierling is hopefully Matt Vierling is going to be your right-handed utility man off the bench. I like Matt Vierling. I don't know if I like him enough for him to be an everyday starter for you next year. I hope they can add some pieces to where Matt Vierling can come off the bench as your right-handed guy, and then Zach McKinstry can be your left-handed bat off the bench. Both of them can play all over the field. Both of them can play in the infield and the outfield. I like Ibanez too. I don't know if he has that much trade value. I think he's definitely the better hitter than McKinstry, but McKinstry also can swipe a few bases as well. So I'm going to have to go with McKinstry on that one.
I'm really surprised with your answer there. You know why I'm surprised?
Ibanez is my guy. I
was going to say, you're the one that Roger, Ibanez. How do you forget about Ibanez? You're the same guy 3 weeks ago that was all about Andy Ibanez and how valuable he is to the Tigers' cause. Now you just betrayed him. I see how that is.
I'm not saying he's. I'm saying he was a good. He was a good pick.
Look, no. Miguel's got a couple words for you.
The catch on the pitcher, we pass the side. I mean, come on, it's a push. I don't play that game.
Yeah, you don't play that game.
It's not that I'm giving. It's that I think Matt Vierling is more impactful for this team than Andy Ibanez. That's it. So that's where.
Wait, what has Matt Vierling? Okay, so no. The question was those three. You can't put Matt Vierling in there in the mix to justify your cause. It's either Short, Ibanez, or McKinstry.
I'm trying to look at the big picture of trying to build this roster out for next year, and I don't think you're going to need two right-handed bats in Vierling and Ibanez. I think McKinstry and Vierling can give you that righty-lefty duo. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Andy Ibanez, does he have options? I mean, he's a guy you could fill in. I mean, who knows? Maybe Andy Ibanez is your everyday second baseman next year, and McKinstry's coming off the bench. Yeah.
Who you got, Raj?
You know what? I would probably have to go with McKinstry because he can play the outfield. But see, unlike John, I didn't give no elaborate, it's just
you got to give some reason.
Look, and B. Foster said it best. All three of them have been so inconsistent. So this is why it's kind of a double-edged sword question. And he's right. I would keep the thing is, I like Ibanez a lot. Ibanez he can play anywhere in the infield, and that's valuable. However, when you do need an outfielder, McKinstry can do that. He can fill that void. So can Zach Short. I think Short is what he is. He's a guy he's a good clubhouse guy, and he's proven. Sometimes there's moments where he has just moments of just like what happened with yesterday with Lipsius, where he just has these mental errors in the field. But the thing with Short is you can find Zach Short. I'm not saying anything like Zach Short's a good guy, fantastic clubhouse guy, but you can find another Zach Short in the minor leagues. You can find another guy that can fill that void. I think McKinstry represents somebody that has that the ability to when he can draw walks. And defensively, he's not too much of a liability out there. I think just because he can do everything, and so that's why I would go with McKinstry over Ibanez, but it's like splitting hairs, really.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
For me, here's the thing. I posed this question because I wanted you guys to narrow it down to one of the three, because let's face it, as we look at this team right now, all three are on this club, and all three have played fairly important roles here and there, right? I think a team, if they truly want to take a step forward, there's no way you can come back with all three of those guys next year. You have to challenge yourself to get better at least two positions of the three. So that's why I want to see which one we think is the most valuable. You guys lean to McKinstry. That's cool. I wish Andy Ibanez was batted left-handed, but he doesn't. However, I would take Ibanez. He's shown the flashes of the power. I really like his defensive game at second base and third base. He's also played a touch of outfield. I don't think he embarrassed himself out there. I think if there was a player who had a chance because of injury that they needed to plug in and play 80 games, I think he could, have some good moments. Now, he had the one tremendous slump this year when he went like 0 for 52 or something. I mean, it was some bizarre number. That wasn't quite that bad, but you remember what I'm talking about. If you, bypass that, you see some decent production here and there where he had good stretches of power. So he would be my guy. I would jettison the other two and look to get better. But again, you're probably right. It is splitting hairs in some respects.
I mean,
Yeah, it really
I
is.
got, Yeah, I had a question because we brought up Matt Vierling. I feel like we haven't talked about him lately, and I want to get your thoughts, kind of just looking back on the Gregory Soto trade. With obviously Nick Maton not really working out at the major league level. He's down in Toledo. Matt Vierling's played a pretty big role for this offense, has an OPS plus of 94, is hitting 270 with 8 home runs. Do you think that trade, looking back on it, I mean, Gregory Soto this year, 54 and 2/3 innings pitched, has an ERA approaching 5 at 4.94. Looking back, do you think that trade is going to work out long-term for the Detroit Tigers?
I remember looking at Soto, some of the numbers. His percentage of actual clean outings was pretty good. I mean, he just had a couple of massive blow-up outings that spiked his ERA. But I don't think he's been that bad at points this year. At the same time, though, I would have probably made that same deal. I didn't have a huge problem with it. You trade relievers for bats anytime you can. Vierling, here's the thing. To me, he looks like a fourth outfielder. I think that's what he is. I don't, for the life of me, understand how he's ever batted in the 3-hole even one time, and he's probably done it 20 times or more. To me, it's baffling. That's the only word I can put on it. It's baffling how they batting him third. But whatever they have, he looks like a little dink and dunk hitter to the opposite side. He runs the base as well. He did turn on a home run the other night in a key spot to lengthen a lead late in the game for a homer. But I think that was his first home run in about 90 days, at least 60 days for sure. He's a quality player in the fact that he's a shade above mediocre and he can help your team in spots.
Yeah, they really, it's, I don't know, like as far as what they, in terms of getting what they wanted out of Gregory Soto, Dave, and I was talking about this with Chris, Dave Dombrowski is a master of telling you what you want to hear. And again, the Tigers they saw what they were able to get, what they needed to get at the time, which was depth, which they didn't really have in the outfield nor at third. They didn't really have a solution at third heading into the offseason. So, yeah. I think Vierling has his position he's got better position versatility, and he has shown that he can hit at times. He's just very inconsistent with it. And so, his glove out there in the outfield too. It's not going to hurt you. I mean, he's made some really good plays this year, but I think I would say I would go with like possibly he'd probably be a fourth outfielder.
Fourth outfielder, and he should bat seventh when he does play.
Yeah,
not third.
Yeah. And then Nick Maton is 26. I know Nick Maton had a 5-hit game. I believe he had a cycle, if I'm not mistaken, down in Toledo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy, had a good season with Philadelphia last year, but very limited at bats. We'll see if he can find his way back to the Tigers, which I feel like eventually he will. I don't think he's a guy that necessarily has that much trade value where the Tigers are going to trade him this offseason. I think he's a depth piece they're going to keep around. As B. Fotzer said, he's an amazing AAA hitter.